Okay, we are at the top of the hour, so let's begin. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again for this month's ACT training webinar. Today, we're going to talk about ACT customization. Now, I've done a customization session in the past, but that was quite a while ago, and we've had a bunch of requests come in to cover some customization items, so we're going to do this again. Some of it will be repeated, but a lot of it we found some new things to cover here, so hopefully there'll be something for everybody to benefit from here. For those of you who are new to this series, we do one of these webinars on the final Wednesday of each month, except for December. And so you're free to join us each time and share this with anybody else who might gain something out of it. Also, we have a Q&A panel inside Zoom. If you have, or in Zoom, sorry, inside, Zoom. If you have any questions, go to the Q&A panel and ask away. I've got Dan Horn on the line here. He's our professional expert over there in the UK. He's going to help answer some of the questions for you. Maybe next month I'll have a picture of Dan, and so you can read his bio too. This is going to be recorded as well. That's the most common question. Is this recorded? And the answer is yes, it's recorded. When you registered for this, you provided us with an email address, and so we'll send that link of the recording to your email address. Also, you can go to act.com/explore and view all of the previous webinars that we've done up to this point. Now, this month, we're going to move a little bit quicker, I think. I got a lot of stuff that I'm trying to sort of fit in here. So follow along with me on your own instance of ACT if you want, but if you fall behind, that's fine. Just go to the recording later and pick up wherever you dropped off. And then at the end, once this webinar is over, you're going to receive a survey. We really appreciate it when you all fill out the surveys because it tells us that you're interested in these webinars and that you have ideas for other webinars. We'd like to hear those so that we can provide you with the topics that you're interested in seeing. So with that said, I think what we're going to do is let's begin. Make sure my screen is shared and everything is working here. Okay. So this is a little bit about me. My name is Brent Milner. I have been with ACT for over 17 years now. My job here is to create training elements like videos and manuals and simulations and things like that for our employees and customers and partners. I live in northern Arizona where we have trees, and so I walk around there with my dogs and my wife, and we have a good time. On today's agenda, we're going to cover a live demonstration of 5 different areas. I'm going to discuss customization as it applies to fields and layouts, maybe activities. We'll create a custom activity and look at some default settings for that. I'm going to create a team and show you some things you can do with teams and ACT. And then I'm going to go to the preferences area inside the tools menu to show you some of the preferences that you can set up as just kind of a way to customize your experience with ACT. So beginning with fields, I'm going to cover 5 different things, at least, with fields. I'm going to create a custom drop-down list. You can create your own drop-down lists in ACT. You know that there are drop-down lists for things like cities and states and I guess counties if you're in the UK. And countries, but you can also create any custom drop-down field that you want for ACT. I'm going to create a custom field as well and force some formatting on that. So I'm going to create a field called account information and or account number, where we'll see some limits that I want to put on that field, meaning you have to have maybe 4 letters followed by 2 numbers just to help keep your data and keep it proper. We'll look at a few other things. I'm going to create a calculation field, a picture field, and then we'll look at the character memos as well. In case you've never created one of those, we'll look at that also. So to start, now I'm assuming you're an administrator of ACT so that you can actually create fields and do things like this. One thing to note is when you create fields, what you're doing is you're changing the schema of the database. You're adding another column, as it were. If you think of it like a spreadsheet, you're adding a column of new data that's going to be in the spreadsheet. So what happens is ACT needs to lock the database to prevent anybody else from entering data while you're changing sort of the skeleton of it. So I recommend doing these kinds of things when you don't really have a lot of other people logged on to your ACT account. If you're in the desktop, it'll lock it immediately. If you're in ACT Premium Cloud, what'll happen is if you have other users online, it will give you a 3-minute countdown, at which point it's going to lock the database. So anybody who's online will see a custom message that you can present to them. It says, I'm locking the database because I'm adding a field. They'll see a message on their screen. They'll get a countdown of 3 minutes where they have to finish everything they have and save it before they're logged out automatically and locked out of the database. But I'm going to demonstrate this in the desktop version of ACT. Where there are differences, I'll try to call those out to you so that you know, for those of you who are on the cloud version. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a drop-down list, a custom drop-down list, and I'm just going to create a list for different manufacturers. Maybe I'll do automobile manufacturers just to show you what that list might look like. Now, there are several ways that you can get into creating a new drop-down list. The way I'm going to do it, though, is to go to my Tools menu, choose Define Fields, and this will lock the database. And now you can see at the top left, it says Locked. In my Define Fields window, there's an option here called Manage Drop-Down Lists. So I'm going to click that. And now you can see a list of all the current drop-downs that are available in ACT. A lot of these come as prepackaged into ACT, but there are a few here that I've added over time. So you can even edit lists that are currently there if you want to do it that way. But I'm going to create a new one. So we'll create a new dropdown, and I'm going to call this manufacturers. Okay, manufacturers. And then the type of field here, I'm going to use character, but you can also create drop-down fields that have currency values, number values, or decimal values. So that's useful if you're going to do any equating or computing with those numbers. If you need to add up currency, for example, then using a currency field allows you to do that. But that's just if you're going to use a drop-down with these types of field entries here. I'm going to use character, though, because my field is going to be names of manufacturers. You could put a description in here if you want. And the only place I think this appears, manufacturers, the only place that I think this appears is when you're looking at the lists. You'll see the description to the right of those. Now we have some sort of behavioral permission settings here that we can choose. First, should users be allowed to edit the items in this list? I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to check that because I want to show you what that looks like. And then also we have another one that is if users enter items in the text field of a list, should that item be automatically added permanently to the list? And I'm going to say yes to that as well. So I'll check both of these just so that we can see what this looks like later on. I'm going to click next. And now here's where you can add the values of your list. So what you would do is click add, enter the value. So like Ford, and then the description, Ford Motor Company, right? And then you click add again to keep adding more items to the list. But there's another way to do it. You can actually import a drop-down list if you have one created, and I'll show you what that might look like. So I'm going to delete this Ford entry here. And instead, I'm going to import a drop-down list. Now, to do this, you need to create a text file of, and that will be your drop-down list. So it's use Notepad if you want. Just create a text file, and I'll open this so I can show you kind of the formatting. The way it should look is the value should be on the left, encompassed by quotations, and then a comma lets you know I'm separating the value from the description. So we have value and then description, both of those inside quotation marks. You don't have to use descriptions if you don't want to, but I am, so I'm going to show you kind of how this looks. And the description doesn't have to match the value. It can be anything you want it to be. So I have a manufacturer drop-down list that I'm going to import. Let's go back into ACT and let's see how to do that. I'm going to click the import drop-down list link on the left. And now I just have to browse for that file, which I believe is on my desktop inside files. So manufacturer drop-down list, I'll click open. And then if I want to include descriptions, I'll check this box. If you don't want to include descriptions, leave it unchecked, and then it'll only do the values. Also, if you already have items in this list, you can use an import to append to that imported item. So you don't have to start over. You can add more items as you go. I'm going to click import now. And there you go. It brings them all into my list here. And you can see right now that they have been, they're not alphabetized yet, but once they appear in the drop down on the layout, you'll see that ACT automatically alphabetizes them for you. So there's no need here to alphabetize them in this list. Now, if you want to force the order in a certain way, for example, if you have maybe a tier of support and it's platinum, gold, silver, bronze, etc., it's going to alphabetize that. Same thing with like months. October will come after February, which will come after all these other months. But anyway, to force that, you have to put a number at the beginning, and then it'll force the sorting any way you want. So let's click finish. And now my new drop-down list has been created. It's available for me now. I can add it anywhere I want. Now it's just a drop-down list. So in order for this to become visible, I have to apply it to a field or create a field that includes this drop-down list. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to click home. And now I'm going to create a new field. So to do this, I'm just going to click the Create New Field button. We're still in the Define Fields area. Our database is still locked. So I'll create a new field for my contacts area. And I'm going to call this field Manufacturer. Now, the field data type should be character. I want to make sure it matches the data type that I'm using on my dropdown. So let's make it character. And then for some field behaviors, I'm going to, yes, allow this to be blank. I don't want to force them to have to choose any manufacturers. I'm not going to generate history or make this a primary field, but what I do need to do here is click this checkbox. So I have to check the box or tick the box, and now I can choose the dropdown that I want. Now, here's where I could have created a dropdown. So if you want to start by creating the field first and then create the dropdown, leave this selected as Create New List, and it will take you into creating the dropdown in this part of the workflow. But since I've already created it, I'm going to scroll down and locate my manufacturer's dropdown list and then click Next. Now this will change the next screen that you see, where it's going to show us some field and list behaviors for this dropdown list. So here's how I'm going to select this. Do I want to limit my users to selecting only things on the list? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to leave that unchecked because I want to allow users to add to that list if they want. Multi-select, yeah, I'll let them choose more than one manufacturer just to show you what it looks like. And I want to show descriptions too. And then the type ahead, we'll see what that does. It just lets me start typing things, and ACT will help to fill out the value based on what you're typing. So with those three items checked, I'm going to click Next. And I don't have any default values I want to put here or any forced formats. I do want to make sure my field length is longer than the longest item in my dropdown. So 50 is a safe bet in most cases. I'll click Next again. I don't have any field triggers that I want to do here, so I'm going to click Finish. And now ACT is creating that field for me. And once it's done that, it will unlock the database once I click Close here. So I've got my new manufacturer field. There it is. It shows me that it's a custom field created on today's date. So I'm going to click Close to unlock my database. And now ACT asks me if I'd like to modify my layout now. And so I'll say, yes, that's nice of you to ask. This will open up the design layout screen for contacts. Once it's figured it out, there we go. And it maximized it for me, so I have a lot of space to work with. So now after creating a field, the next thing you want to do is add the field to your layout. And so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to put it right here on the main part of my layout. So on the left, under the field header, I'm going to click the field button, And then on my screen, I'm just going to draw a rectangle here, which will simulate the drop-down field on the screen. Once I release my mouse button, this select field window opens up where now I can select the field that I want to add. So I'm going to choose manufacturer. And then there's a little checkbox here that says include a label. I'm going to leave that checked because I want it to say manufacturer to the left of my field. So I'm going to click add, and now it adds both of those items for me. Now you can spend some time here changing the fonts and moving this around to however you want it to look. But for now, I'm just going to leave it kind of close to the default. So let's click save. And now I'm going to exit the designer by going to the file menu and choosing exit. This will sort of refresh my layout here, and you can see my manufacturer field has now been added to the layout. So we're all good to go. Let's look at this field. Now, if I expand the dropdown, you can see that it includes both the name and the description because that was the choice I made. If you didn't want the description in here, just remove that, and then it'll just have the values themselves. Also notice that it has alphabetized these for me. I think I had DeLorean below Ford, and it moved it up into the proper place alphabetically, so it has done that for me as well. Some other things you can do is use type ahead. So if I just start typing in here, CH, it will try to fill that in for me, and it'll help me fill out Chevrolet. So that's what that type ahead thing does. One of the other things we can do here is choose multiple values. So DeLorean and Ford, it'll put both of those in there separated by a semicolon, similar to the ID status field. One of the other things you can do is add something else in there. If you don't want to use either one of those types of vehicles, you could put in, I don't know, Edsel, right? And when I click save, what'll happen is it's going to automatically add Edsel to the permanent list. It doesn't give it a description, but that was one of the permissions I chose, is when you add something new to this field, it'll add it to the list permanently. And then the last thing you can do is click edit list values, which allows anybody to add additional items to this list if they want. So we could add Yugo and click OK. And then Yugo would appear in this list permanently as well. So that's a lot of fun you can have with the drop-down lists inside ACT. Hope you find a lot of good uses for those. Now, the next thing I want to do is create a field where we force a value. This will help you maintain integrity of your data by preventing entry errors. And the example I'm going to use is going to be this custom tab I built. This field is called account number. What I want it to do is only allow me to type in 4 capital letters followed by 2 numerals. And any other format will be disallowed. So let's see how we can do that here. If I go to my tools menu, I'm going to open the define fields area again, and yeah, it will lock the database. We can see that I've already created this field called account number. And so I just want to have a look at it to show you how I set this up. And we're going to make one small edit to it. So let's edit this field, and I'll show you what I did. So first of all, when I created this field, I named it account number, but the field data type I chose was uppercase. I could have used character, but I really want all my alphabetical characters to be in an uppercase status. I don't want lowercase letters. So I chose uppercase, which forces that. Down below that, I didn't really do anything special here. I just generated history whenever any changes get made to this field's value. So if I make any changes to the account number for any of my contacts, it will create a history record saying that I did that. But if I go to the next screen, here's where we can see the field formatting. So as you can see, there are some strange characters here. I have 4 @ symbols followed by 2 pound signs. Now, what this designates is an @ symbol means you must have a letter here. It must be an alphabetic value. The pound sign or the number sign means it must be a numeric value. And there's one other one. There is a percent sign. If you use the percent, that will be alphanumeric, meaning only letters and numbers and no other special characters. So those are kind of the three field formats that you can use here to force certain entry. But what I want to do is insert a dash between the letters and the numbers. So in order to do that, I'm going to change my field length from 6 to 7. And then I'll insert a dash right here. What that is going to do is going to force this dash to separate between the two. So you can do a combination of forcing these letters or numbers with any other kind of text or symbols in there as well. Once I do that, I'm going to click Finish. And now it's saying, hey, you made a change to the field length. This might result in loss of data, but I know it won't because all I've done is increase the length of the field. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to click Yes here in this instance. And then I'm going to close this window so we can go back and enter a value into the field here. All right, so once I've done that, now when I click in this account number field, I can't type any numbers. I'm typing the numbers on my keyboard right now and nothing's coming up. But if I hit letters, it will only let me enter 4 letters. And then after that, I can enter 2 numbers. When I click save, it'll save that value. Now, what is not happening right now, it's not putting the dash in there. So I got to figure out what I did wrong. Maybe I need to just do another lookup here to refresh that a little bit. Of course, it works when I test it, and then when I'm demoing it, it's not working. So I'll have to figure out why that didn't work according to my plan. I'll go look in the define fields area just to make sure I saved it correctly. Edit field. Yeah, it's showing the dash in there, so it should be working correctly. So I'll play around with that. You guys have a glimpse at that too, and see if you can get it to do what I couldn't. Oh, there it goes. It just needed to refresh. All right, so now it's inserting the dashes in there for me. And the way it looks without any information is totally blank. I save it, and then when I start typing, it will put the dash in automatically. There you go. All right, so it did work. Now, the next thing I want to show you is a calculated field. So these are useful if you want ACT to make calculations based off of maybe dates or numbers. And the simplest calculated field that you could create is this age field. This is a custom field which computes off of years from a date you put in the birthday field to today. So if I put in today's date, 5-29, and I make it 80, it will tell you how old this person is. When I click save, it makes that computation and says they're 44 years old. If I change this to tomorrow's date, 5:30, and I click save, it'll reduce that to 43. So that is the simplest calculation field. But I want to create a more complex calculation field based off of, what happened here? Based off of opportunity values. I may have crashed my ACT. That's fun. Let me exit this real quick and start up again. I got a little click happy. Maybe it didn't like that I was doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a calculated field based off of opportunities in ACT. And I'm just using ACT Premium Cloud right now while my desktop launches again. But I'm going to show you where I want a calculated field to appear. If I look at the detail view for my opportunity, I've got a commission field that I'm going to create. And what I want to do is I want to calculate maybe 5% off of, I'm going to do the total value of an opportunity, or I could do weighted value, but I want it to compute 5% so that my salespeople know what their commission would be potentially if they close one of these deals. So let me log back into ACT here. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to go into, again, the define fields area in ACT. You get there, of course, by going to the tools menu and choosing define fields. Let's see if we're about launched here again. I've got a fairly decently sized database, so sometimes it takes a minute or two for this to open. But let's see what happens here. I'm seeing some questions in there about fonts and things in the design layout. We're going to look at fonts in a little bit. So hang tight. I'll show you how to change the font so that you can get those fields to match. Because yeah, I'm a little bit OCD, and that drives me crazy when I have fonts on a screen that don't match. I want everything to look real pretty. So I'll show you how one way that you can do that. So here on my opportunity detail view, I'm going to create a commission field. I'll place it maybe below this days and stage field. To do that, I'm going to go to my tools area and click define fields. Now, because I was looking at an opportunity record, ACT is kind of smart, and it says, oh, I think you probably want to change an opportunity field. And that's great. That's exactly what I want to do. But if I was still in my context area, you can always change this drop down to determine which field type you want to create. So I'm going to create an opportunity field, and I'm going to call it commission. So I'm going to click create new field here, and we'll call it commission. I think I spelled that correctly. Now, this is important. The field data type, this is where we're going to change this. It's not a currency field. It's going to be a calculated field because we're doing some math here, or better yet, we're making ACT do it. So choose calculated field there, not number or decimal or currency. And once you choose calculated, all these other fields get grayed out because what we're doing is we're creating a read-only field. So I'm going to click next. And now we have to determine what we're calculating it off of. Are we calculating it off of a date field or off of a numeric field? And since we're going to base it off of this total field, it's numeric. Once you choose numeric, this page loads, and you get a lot of choices here. So this could be a little overwhelming, but I'm going to go through this kind of slowly so that you can see what I'm doing here. Now, if you need help, you can always click this link that says learn how to write a formula, but I'm going to show you how to write a formula here. Inside this field is where your calculation formula should appear. And really what you want to do is just figure it out in your head. What should the formula be? I want to choose 5% of this total value. So I'll begin with the total value. It's showing the fields that are available for me. These are the only numeric fields inside my opportunities table: gross margin, weighted total, and total. So I'm going to use total, double click that, and it'll add this field to your formula. You can tell it's a field because it's encompassed by brackets. Next, we have to determine the function. What are we doing here? Are we multiplying? Are we adding? Are we dividing? What are we doing? Well, if I go back to my algebra days, I think it's a product. So I'm going to double click this product multiplication. And then because I want it to be 5%, I'm just going to type in 0.05. And that'll give me 5% of this total value. And that's it. Now down below, you can choose some behaviors. I want to display this calculated field as currency. I want it to appear as dollars and cents or euros or pounds or whatever your currency is set up in ACT. And then the number of decimal places, because I chose currency, it automatically says 2 decimal places to the right. And that's it. So I'm going to click finish, and ACT will create this field for me. And then the only thing I have to do now is add it to my opportunity layout. So this commission field has been added. It's got a little lock on here. That just means it's a read-only field. It's a custom field. It's read-only. It's protected. It's secure. It can't be changed. So I'm going to click close, and ACT asks me if I want to modify my layout. And so I'll say yes. And this will open up my layout designer. Hopefully the opportunity area. Yep, there it is. So I'm looking at my opportunity layout. Again, I'll click field on the left, draw my rectangle here. Doesn't need to be that big. It's just a money value. And then I'll choose my new commission field. I will include a label, and I'll click add. Now, one thing I might want to do is align this to the left. Because it's a numeric value, ACT always wants to align it right, but I want to choose left. So I'll change that alignment. You can also change fonts in here if you want by highlighting the thing you want to change and then going into your fonts area and changing it. Now, if you wanted to match other fields, select the other fields and make a note of what they are. So Microsoft Sans Serif 9, I would just change this to the same thing and it should match fairly well. The other thing that I need to, if I had more time, I would spend on this is changing the colors and things like that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm going to click save. And then we will exit the layout designer. Now we can see that my new commission field has been added here. As my total gets changed, it will be 5% of that new total. So we'll get computed automatically every time I add products or remove products or anything. If I change the value of one of these products from maybe 100 items to 70 items, that's going to change the total and also the commission. All right, next up, let's add a picture field. I don't want to run out of time on you guys. So let's get into the next thing that I want to do. I'm going to look up my my record here. And so sometimes you might want to add a picture field to the detail view of contacts or companies or opportunities or whatever it might be. It's useful if you need a person's portrait on their contact record, or maybe you need a driver's license scan. If you're in realty, sometimes those realty photos could be picture fields that you could add here or in custom tables. Company logo would be nice. There's a lot of options here for adding a picture to contact records. I'm going to use this personal info tab, and I'm just going to add a picture portrait to the right here. So again, I'm going to go to my tools menu and choose define fields. And I want to make sure I'm looking at contact fields, which I am. I'm going to create a new field here, and I'll call it, let's call it portrait. And so for field data type, now it's not going to be character. Now we're going to choose a picture type. And I do want to allow blank. I'm not going to force a picture on every single contact record. And I'm not going to generate history here. Instead, I'll just click next. And that's really it. That's all you have to do in creating one of these fields. So I'll click finish. Now, there's a few important things I want to talk about with the picture field, but let's modify this layout first. Click yes here. And hopefully it opens the contact layout designer. No, it's still doing opportunity. Sometimes that happens in the desktop area. And so the way to do this is you can go to your tools menu and you can choose design layouts submenu and then choose contact. So that'll help you determine exactly which layout you want to create. So that's one thing to pay attention to. Make sure you're changing the correct layout. Now I'm going to add this picture field to my personal info tab. So one thing I have to mention here is ACT is not going to resize these pictures for you. So it's a good idea to know, to have kind of like a uniform picture size for whatever photos you're using, whether it's driver's licenses or portraits. I know that mine are all 120 wide by 160 high or tall in pixels. So what I'm going to do is click this picture field button on the left, and I'm just going to draw. It doesn't have to be exact yet. I'm going to choose this portrait field that I created. I'm not going to include a label though. I know what it is just by looking at it. So I'll click add, and now it adds this field for me. But how do I change the width here to exactly what I want? Well, that's where the properties window comes into view here. So in your view menu, we're going to look at this properties window. It opens up on the right and it tells you the properties of anything that you select. So in the case of matching, somebody asked, like, how do I match font colors from one to another? What you can do is click the one you want and then just copy that RGB value and paste it onto the one that you want to change. So this properties window lets you look up the properties of anything that you see here. In the case of my picture field, I can see it's got a size here, a height of 136 and 104, but I want to change that. I want my width to be, what did I say, 120, and I want my height to be 160. So I'll just change that real quick. And it resizes it for me automatically. I can still move it around if I want, but I'm happy with that the way it is. So I'm going to click save, and now we'll exit the layout. Now this is going to add that picture field here. To insert a picture here, just click that field, and now we have to find the picture on our computer somewhere. There's mine. picture, boom. When you click save, it adds that there. And so now this contact record has a picture attached to it. The last field that I want to show you in this part is a memo field. So a memo field is kind of like a text field, but it has unlimited characters. So you can create a memo field if you want to really type a long summary about something. And I'm using this group area because there's a lot of space here. So maybe I want to add a summary for each of my groups. What you can do then is go to your tools menu once again, choose define fields. I'm going to create a new field for groups, and we'll just call it summary. And in this instance, my field data type is going to be memo. So that's a different field type. I'm going to allow blank entries. I'll click next and finish. I don't have any triggers that I want to force here. So we've created this new summary field, and it is a memo type. I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to click close. I'm going to open my tools menu, design layouts, and I'm going to design it for the group layout. So now we can see what my my group layout looks like. Under the field area, we're going to add a memo field. And I'll just draw a big rectangle here. I'll choose the field. It's going to be my summary field. I do want to include a label. I'll click add. There we go. Once again, I could clean this up later if I want, but for now, I'll leave it like this. Click save, and now I will exit. So now I have this giant summary, and we can enter lots of text here. Go in here and type, or just copy and paste, and it holds a lot of text. Click save, and now you have a summary field or a memo field that is different from one group record to the next. All right, I'm gonna go into a little bit of faster gear here. The fields area, that was the biggest area though. The other ones are not going to take as long. So let's talk about layouts. Now, you've seen me working in the layouts a little bit, but I want to show you how to create a custom tab, like the account info tab that I showed you earlier. I also want to show you how you can create different layouts based for different users or different departments so that everybody can have their own layout if they want. And then I'm going to show you how to quickly clean things up if you have fields and labels that are kind of like all over the place and you want to make them aligned and the same size and all that. So let's begin by going back into my context area. And you may have noticed already that I did create an account info tab here, and this will house some account specific information for each contact. This was a custom tab that I created, and I'll show you how I did that. The way to do this is you go to your tools menu and you're going to go into your design layouts. We're not creating any fields here. We're just editing the layout for the contact area. When I open this, we've been here before, we'll see that there is my account info tab here, but I'm going to create a new tab. Maybe I'll call it account info 2 just to show you how I did it. If you go to the edit menu, in the edit menu, there is an option for tabs. Now, what this lets you do is it lets you hide tabs, remove tabs, move tabs around, or create tabs. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it account info 2. And I'm going to put it right next to the first account info tab. So I'll click OK. It creates that tab and it adds it to the bottom of my view, which means it's on the very right. If I move this up using the move up button so that it's right next to account info, you'll see over here on my layout, it has added that tab called account info 2. You can remove tabs, you can hide tabs, but I'm going to click close. See that account info 2 is right there. I'll click save, and now I'll exit out of here. We can see now I have a new tab that's created. There's nothing on it yet, but that's how you create a tab. So now I could add fields to it and do whatever layout things I need to do there on that new tab. Let's look at sort of resizing and aligning fields. If I go back into my layouts here for contacts, sometimes when you create fields, and I'm talking about me really, I go pretty fast. And so sometimes I don't have things aligned up. I might have a field here, a field down there. My fields might not even be the same size. I might have just like made them really kind of messed up. And so this doesn't look good. Um, how do I align everything so that it is in a neat and orderly way? Well, there's a couple tools here that let you do that, a couple tricks here. The way I like to do it is start in the top left and put this first label where you want it to appear. This is going to be like the cornerstone of everything else. Everything will align itself based on this first item here. So if you have that where you want it, then the next thing you need to do is um, I'm going to align this field sort of vertically with that. So I'm going to align it here where I want kind of horizontally. Like I think it should be about this far from the label. And then the next thing I need to do is make sure I select both of these items. So the one that you want to remain where it is, select last. The ones that you want to move around, select first. I'll show you what I mean. First, I'm going to select the field because I want this one to be moved next to that one. So if you hold down Control, you can click two fields at the same time. Okay. Now for my format menu, I'm going to choose the Align submenu, and I'm going to align them to the tops of each other, just like that. So now it moved it where I wanted it to be moved. So now, because I have these two set up, I can move the others where I want them to be as well. For example, if I choose portfolio value and then holding down my control button, credit limit, and then last account number, I can format them so that they are aligned to the right, for example. It lines them all up nicely there. So that's one way you can align these things. Same thing if I want to align this credit limit with this credit limit. Maybe I'll align it to the top first, and then I'll align it to the left of the one above it. So like that, you can do a one by one, or you can do them all at the same time. Portfolio value, maybe I want it to be right here, and then I'll align this to the top of that, and then I'll align it to the left of the ones above it. Okay, so now I've got them kind of aligned the way I want them to be, but also I want to make sure I change these fields to be the same size. And so the same thing applies. Select all the fields you want to change first, and then lastly, select the one that you want them to conform to. And under the format menu, we have this make same size submenu where you can do width, height, or what I'm going to choose is both. And then it aligns them all up and makes them all the same size. So play around with that. That's a quick way to kind of just make things look neat on your layouts if those things drive you crazy like they do to me. Next, I want to show you how to create some new layouts. So for example, this is where users can create custom layouts for themselves or to share with other users. In the desktop version of ACT, layouts are kept with the database files in the layouts directory. I'll show you where that is real quick. If you're in the desktop, it's usually in your documents area under ACT, ACT data, databases, and then you'll see directories for database files. So for example, CloudWalker database files. Inside there, you'll see a layouts folder. And this is where all your layouts exist. So I have company layouts, contact layouts, groups, opportunities, and so on. So if we want to create a new layout, it's going to appear here. Now, if you're in cloud, when you save a new layout, it'll put it in the appropriate directory for you automatically. So it does it in both places pretty much the same way. But let's say I wanted to create a new layout for one of my salespeople. Her name is Jody. What I'll do is while I'm looking at maybe this contact layout, premium layout, I'm going to go to my file menu and I'll choose Save As. And I'll just name it. Let's just call it Layout for Jody. Okay. Notice it's going to be a CLY file type. That stands for contact layout. And when I click save, it's going to automatically add it to that directory. And it works the same way in Act Premium Cloud. It adds it to the correct directory for you. So now I have my layout for Jody. I could make some changes here too if I just wanted to remove maybe this last results field. Make any other changes you want to. Maybe I don't want the manufacturer thing there. Once you click save, it's going to save this layout. And now we can tell Jody, hey, I have a layout that you can use. So when Jody logs in, she should be able to go to this drop down at the top, and we'll see, once my screen stops refreshing, we'll see that there is this thing called layout for Jody. So these are going to be shared among all users. You can always go in locally and delete them from your layout if you want. But now this gives me the Jody layout where my manufacturer field is gone, and so is that last results field is gone too. So that is how you can have some fun with layouts here. Next up, we're going to talk about activities. I'm going to create a custom activity type, and then I'm going to show you how you can change the default durations and resolutions for any custom activities that you create. So let's get right into it. Maybe you want to create a new activity type for training or inspections or maybe demonstrations. In the schedule menu, in the desktop version of Act, if you go to your schedule menu, there's a manage submenu here. And in that manage submenu, you'll see activity types. And this will open the manage activity types window. I'm going to switch over to the cloud version here to show you where that is in the cloud version. In the cloud version, it's also in the schedule menu, but you don't have a submenu. You just have activity types. And then this will open the activity types window. Looks a little bit differently, but the functionality works exactly the same in both. So let's look at this. I'm looking at my activity types. You can see I have a few in here. I've already created a custom one for training, for on-site inspection and on-site assessment. Plus there are the default ones that come with Act, like call, meeting, and to-do. But let's say I want to create a new activity type called demonstration. It's not quite a meeting. It's not quite a phone call. It's totally different. So I need a new activity type for that. I'm going to click add, and I'll just type in demonstration. And then I want to make sure this box is checked active. That just means people can use it. You can schedule demonstration activities. Now, if you want to change the icon here, you can do that. It's an ICO file type. It's an image type. It requires that extension ICO. And I think the size of this is 17 pixels in width and height. I believe that's correct. It's pretty small. So usually you can do a Google search and just find icon images and find the one you like, make sure it's the right size, and then save it and browse here to find it. I don't have an icon type for demonstration, but that's how you would use that. But you don't have to. Act will give you this sort of default template if you want to use that instead. So now I have my activity type. I've got it active, but what I need to also choose here are the possible resolutions for after this demonstration has been scheduled. We have the generic ones called completed or not complete, but I'm going to change a few of these. Instead of not complete, I'm going to change it to say postponed. Okay. Maybe I want to add one too called needs follow-up. Demonstration needs follow-up. Now you can edit these if you don't want to say demonstration there. If you want it to just be more precise, you could just do that and have it say completed, postponed, needs follow-up, because you can see this is getting kind of lengthy. So it's up to you. I'll show you what that looks like. If I just had it say canceled, you'll see it just kind of looks a little bit different. But you can add as many possible resolution types or values as you want. Set one of them as the default, which just means whenever you clear a demonstration activity, what is the default value it's going to be set at, which you can always change. But I'm just going to say completed should be the default value. Now I'm going to click OK and close to close the manage activity types. And so now we have a new activity type. So if I go to my schedule menu here and I choose other, we'll see that my new demonstration activity type now appears in the list. If I click that, we'll see in the activity type for this activity, it shows up in the dropdown and it's ready to go. So let's schedule a, a demonstration to take place. Notice that its duration is set for 5 minutes. Well, that's kind of ridiculous. I want to change the default for that from 5 minutes to maybe 2 hours. Also, a ring alarm for 5 minutes, that doesn't give me much warning. Maybe I want a bigger or a ring alarm that gives me a little more advanced warning. So we can change some of these defaults. Let's do that real quick. The way to change these defaults is to go to your tools menu, and we're going to go into the preferences area. So preferences is part of the tools menu. It opens up this preferences window. And what I'm looking for in here in the desktop is called calendar and activities. Okay, if you're in Act Premium Cloud and you go to your tools menu and you find preferences, in Act Premium Cloud, I believe it's under activities, where you can now change the defaults for each activity type. So a little bit different between the two places. In the desktop version, we have to click this activity preferences button, and it'll give us our activity preferences here. So what I'll do is I'll choose my new activity type, demonstration. Maybe I'm going to change the priority to high, right? That's a high priority item, demonstrations. I don't want to miss it. The default value, maybe I'll make that 2 hours. The ring alarm, I could make no ring alarm if I want, just as a default. And then we can change those as we create the activities themselves. That's really it. There's a few other things we could set here, but for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, when I go into my schedule menu and I choose a demonstration, we should see my new default duration is at 2 hours. My priority is at high, and I have no ring alarm. So that's fantastic. I'm just going to create a real quick activity, demonstrate. We'll do it for today and right now. I'll click OK to create this activity. And we'll see here it is. But what I want to show you is now when I clear this activity, we should see my new custom resolutions, which are right here. I have completed, postponed, needs follow-up, and canceled. So all those things are there for me now when I clear this activity. All right, next up in our list, we're getting kind of towards the end here, so hopefully I can cover the last couple things, is teams. So you can create teams which groups your users together any way that you want, like based on department, based on maybe their geographic location or region. So lots of different ways that you can create teams, and users can belong to more than one team. So if you have several different ways that you want to categorize your users and group them together, use teams for that. And then this will allow you to do a few things, which we'll look at here right now. So I'm going to create a team in this database called sales. So I'm going to go to my tools menu and choose manage teams. I have a team for finance, but I'm going to create a new team for sales. So I'll click create team. I'll call it sales. If I need a description, I can put it in there, but I don't need one. And now I'm just going to add a few people here. We'll add a couple of these people at the top. We'll do these 4 people. They're going to be my sales team. And that's it. Now I can click finish, and I've now created a team for sales, and it contains 4 users. So it's easy to create a team, but why would we want to do that? Well, one of the things we can use with teams is we can restrict access levels of records based on the team that you're in. So let's say that I have a user whose name is Chuck. Let me go look up Chuck here. His name is Chuck Applesauce. So I'm going to look him up, and I want to limit my user's access to his record unless they're on the specific team that they need to be to see his record. So what I'll do is I'll go into my contact access tab for Chuck, Currently, he's set at public, meaning anybody can view it and anybody can edit that record. And I'm going to change it to limited access based on the teams that are able to see his record. So I'll click that button. And now in the Teams tab, I'm going to choose the sales team, which means anybody who's on the sales team can now see and edit this record. And I'm an administrator, so I can see it. And also Derek here is the record manager, so he'll still be able to see it. But apart from that, anybody who's on this team will now be able to see this record for Chuck Applesauce. So let me show you how that looks. I'm going to log in as somebody who's not on the sales team. Let's see here. I think Randy, or no, Tony is not. Tony. I'm going to log into this database as Tony, and I'll search for Chuck, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go to my lookup menu, and I'm going to look up by last name. His last name starts with Apple. And I can see I have 4 users whose names start with Apple, but no Chuck Applesauce. And that's because Tony is not on the sales team. So he can't even see it. He doesn't even know that that record exists. Now, once teams are created, you can also set access level automatically when you create new records. I'm going to log back in as myself to show you what this looks like. So instead of being Tony, I'm going to be me again. I'll log in. And what I'm going to do is set an access level whenever I create new records. And this is something you can do in the preferences area of ACT. Because it would be a lot of work to go into each of these records after I've created them to then change their access. So why not set that access level during record creation? So in the preferences area, what I want to go to is in desktop, it's on the startup tab. And what I'll do is I'll click record creation options. It gives us this little record creation options screen. If you're on ACT Premium Cloud on the preferences window, I believe it's under the startup link as well. And then there's nothing else you have to do. It's right here at the top. So creating new records, what are the default rules we should put on them? So back in desktop, what I'm going to do is say whenever I create new contacts, I want to limit access of those contacts to the sales team. Just like that. Okay. If I click OK out of this and then apply or OK to close the preferences screen, now whenever I create a new contact, let's give this person a name like Blake. Oops, click here. Blakely. Click save. What we should see now is when I go to my contact access, we'll notice that it automatically has been given it a limited access to the sales team because that was the rule I set up for any contact that I create. Now that only applies to me. Anybody else who logs in will still have their contacts all be created as public. So you have to change this setting for each user so that it follows that rule. Okay, as we come to a close here, how am I doing on time? I've got 1 minute left to show you some preferences. I'm going to show you how to customize your startup view, how to set defaults for new history records, and enable custom messaging, and then creating companies automatically. We may go over a little bit, but hopefully not too much. So the first thing I want to show you is how to customize your startup view. Most of the time when you log into ACT, you're going to be taken to the welcome screen. But this is really easy to change. If you don't want to see the welcome screen first, go to your tools menu and click preferences. And this will be located in the startup tab in both desktop and ACT Premium Cloud. And what you're looking for is this startup view area. By default, I think it's set to welcome screen. But what you can do is you can change this to whatever you want it to be. So for example, contact list, right? Maybe I want to see the contact list first. And one of the neat things you can do is if you want to make this change for everybody in your system, click this update button on the right, and it will make that change for all other users in your system. You can always hover over that to see what that does. Now they can go back in and change it later, but at least you can set them on the right path for starters. Now the next time I log in, it's going to just take me directly to the contact list instead of the welcome screen. One of the other things I want to show you is setting defaults for new history records. So what I mean by that is, let's say I was having lunch with somebody and I wanted to record it as a history record in ACT. It didn't really come from an activity or from my calendar. So what I would do is click this history button and then create a new history record for that appointment or whatever I had with that person. When I click a history record, though, you can see, for example, appointment, the default gets marked as complete. Demonstration gets marked as complete. How do I change the default result when I'm creating a new history record from scratch? This is easy to do again. We'll do this in the preferences window. So tools, preferences. And again, this is on the startup tab. What we're looking at is the history area. So here's where you can customize the default settings for all new histories. Look at all the history or all the history types. So let's just do appointment, for example. Maybe for whatever reason, for new appointment histories, I want it to be not completed instead of completed. So I'll change it to not completed, click apply, click OK. Now, whenever I create a new history and I change it to appointment, it's going to say not completed by default. Of course, I could always change it back to completed if I want, but that default selection, I've been able to modify that. Another thing you can do is you can enable custom messaging with notifications in ACT. So one of the things that we have in ACT is this little help menu where you can view ACT notifications. This is how you would check to see if you need, on the desktop, if you need to get a new version. That notification thing will tell you that. But you can also create notifications for other users. The way to do this, again, is to go into your preferences area. And you can see the notification that I created earlier, and it's showing up here on my layout. But let's say you wanted to have a notification that says you want to remind people to synchronize. So on the notifications tab, we're going to make sure we check show ACT notifications and check the box that says enable custom messaging. And we're going to create a message that says synchronize, right? And then maybe for the message, I want to type in something a little more detailed. This is for my desktop users. I want to make sure that they're synchronizing their remotes back to the mothership, as it were. So I'll put a message there. I could put a URL here if I want to include a link for that. Now I'm going to click apply and OK. And so this goes out to all my different users. And the next time they come into ACT, this message will pop up, I believe, on a specific delay. I don't know what the time is of that delay, but you can always access it by going to the help menu and clicking ACT notifications. And then it should pop up. First of all, it pops up the download notification if there is any, and then it pops up the one that you the custom one that you created. So this is a way to get messages out to people that they'll see when they log into ACT. And then the last thing I want to show you, I think, is automatic company creation. So if you use companies, but you don't want to manually create them every time you create your contacts, there's something you can do here so that your companies get automatically created. So I'm looking at a list view of all my contacts, and if I scroll down, you'll see that some of my contacts don't have company records assigned to them. And so we're going to fix that so that ACT automatically creates companies as I add more contacts to the companies. An example I'm going to use here, I think I have a company called Manchester Pub. And what I want to do is anytime I have two contacts that have the same value in the company field, I want ACT to use that as a trigger to automatically create a company record. Now you can change that number to be 1, meaning every time you have a contact, it automatically creates a company record. You can set that threshold to whatever you want, but I'm going to use 2 just to show you how this works. So my current contact, his name is Sterling Holland, and this is not a company linked to anything yet. But if I go into my tools menu and click preferences, we can see where I would change this rule. It's on the admin tab inside the desktop, and you'll see that there's this company section. So I'll click the company preferences button, and here's the screen where we're going to do it, company preferences. If I jump over to Act Premium Cloud, I'll show you where that's located in Cloud. It's under Tools, Preferences, and Startup. And then there's nothing else to click. It's right here in this company creation area. So it's available in both places. And what we're doing is we're saying, at what point should we automatically create new companies? I'm going to say whenever two contacts have the same value in the company field, automatically create that company for me. So 2 will be my threshold. I'm going to click OK. It says no companies will be created right now because that doesn't apply yet. So I'll click yes. And I'll close this contact window or the preferences window. Now I just need to create a new contact with the company Manchester Pub. So I'm going to create a new contact here. And we'll call this contact, it's going to be Kevin Defoden. And his company name is Manchester Pub, right? Some of you soccer fans are going to hate me for this, but that's the way it goes. Now I'm going to click save. And because 2 contacts match that company name, the company gets created. So now I have a company called Manchester Pub. And if I click that, it's going to take me into the company record where it will show me the 2 contacts who belong to that company. So that's a quick way to do it. Now, if I would have set that threshold to 1, for example, then Act would automatically create a company every time I create a new contact. So keep that in mind. You have to make sure you're doing good data entry, though. If you misspelled anything in here, it would create a separate company, which could cause trouble. So make sure if you're using this, you're being real careful how you enter company values. And that's it. Wow, we got through it all 7 minutes over. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to fill out those surveys at the end so that we know that you're enjoying this or what we can improve upon. And if there's nothing else, we'll hang around for a little bit to answer more questions. Otherwise, have a good June, and we'll see you at the end of next month. Bye, everybody.